Come with me if you want to live.
Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
This is it. Don't get scared.
Welcome back to a brand new Flick Talk Live. That's right, I might be changing the name of this live show to Flick Talk. Sort of like a TED Talk. Except, you know, my last name's Flickinger and we talk about movies, so it just feels right. But without further ado, how are you guys doing? Thank you for joining me once again for a brand new live show. I missed you guys. It's been a few weeks. A few very long, miserable, obligatory, busy weeks in my life. And that is my excuse. And that is my reason for this delayed live show. And we'll dive all into my boring life obligations momentarily. But how are you guys doing? Leave your thoughts, your opinions down below. If you have any juicy questions, get them in right now. But a few topics we're talking about tonight before we dive into those glorious, magical, mystical, and juicy questions. It's been too long, and I'm feeling a little antsy tonight. I have a Jack Daniels and Coke in this can. This is alcohol, I assure you. So we're going to get a little frisky later on. But the main topics I'm going to cover in this live show before we dive into your questions are, I want to talk about Thunderbolts. I put out a review for this movie on the FlickPick channel. The link is down below if you want to check out my 10-minute review with some in-depth thoughts on the movie. And I will do a spoiler video at some point. But rest assured, no spoilers in this video. But I do want to just talk about some random thoughts I have with it and the general consensus with what I'm seeing on the internet. So if you guys have anything to say about Thunderbolts, let me know in the comments. Also, I want to talk about a new trailer that we got over a week ago. And yeah, a lot has happened in the last 2 weeks. We got a trailer for Predator Badlands. Do it now. I want to see the movie. I do. We'll talk about that. I also want to talk about a movie that came out. I don't think anyone watched it, even though for 8 years on the internet, a lot of people said they wanted to see it. But yeah, according to the box office, no one saw this shit. And that is The Accountant 2. I did see the movie. I want to talk about that for a few seconds. Also, there's a new popcorn bucket coming out for the 50th anniversary of Jaws. And if you're into popcorn buckets, I think this is one you might want to buy. I just pre-ordered it right before I went live, so we'll talk about that, along with the Darth Vader popcorn bucket that came out last week. Look at that. John, I am your father. That is he could be my father, for all I know. My mom was she was partying in the 1980s. Darth Vader could be my father. I don't know. And my mom watches these live shows, so maybe one day she'll tell me the truth. The other thing I want to talk about is the new trailer for The Smashing Machine starring The Rock, which I think this could potentially be the best acting role from The Rock we've ever seen. That's not saying much, but nevertheless, I'm looking forward to it. And so without further ado, I will shut up. And by shut up, I mean just keep talking. But let's dive into some of these topics. And how are you guys doing? I'm reading all your comments right here already. Hi, John. Hi. How are you guys doing? Yeah. So before we dive into the topics, though, let me tease you a little bit longer, just for a few seconds. For the last 2 weeks, I have been meaning to make a live show and make like 5 videos. Unfortunately, for the last 2 weeks, I was one of the groomsmen in my best friend's wedding. So that took up like a week of my life. I went to Chicago to see Thunderbolts on a random Tuesday. So that day was completely shot. And by the way, I was literally 5 minutes away from the theater to see an early screening of Thunderbolts. I got stuck in Chicago rush hour traffic for an hour and a half, and it took an hour and a half to get 3 miles. Yeah, it took everything inside of me not to completely pull a Michael Douglas from Falling Down, where I just lose my shit, get a whole bunch of guns and ammo, and wear a tactical vest, and then I go into a fast food restaurant and I lose my shit there. If you haven't seen the movie Falling Down, great movie, completely relate to it. And then just recently, it was my wife's birthday, so if you want to wish her a belated happy birthday, her birthday was yesterday. So we were celebrating that, and we will be celebrating it again tomorrow night. And plus today was a very therapeutic, cathartic grass cutting day. And this is a day where I basically worship my lawn. I make sweet love to it. And I also fertilized it today because I have an overpopulation of dandelions overtaking my yard. And the way I treat weeds in my yard are the same way that someone would treat zombies in the zombie apocalypse. You don't want that shit getting near you. If it touches you, you'll be infected forever. No. I step 10 feet back and I unleash hell upon it. And by hell, I mean I just fertilize it and spray a whole bunch of chemical pesticide herbicides on it, which probably cause cancer, but nevertheless, I want my lawn to look beautiful and green. So without further ado, I know I've said that like 5 times now. That's the last time I'll say it. Let's dive into the topics. And I'm seeing all of your questions, and I will get to them. I promise you we're going to get to all the questions as soon as I cover some of these topics. So, the first topic we're talking about today is a little movie that came out called Thunderbolts. And here it is. There we go. You guys seeing that right there on your screens? Okay. So I put out a review for this movie, and according to the internet, this movie is essentially the second coming of the Marvel Cinematic Jesus Christ. This is the best movie everyone has ever seen, and Marvel is back, and everyone is buzzing on the internet about this movie. And I think it's a good movie. I really do. I think it's a fine little movie. I think there's nothing wrong with Thunderbolts when it comes to just pure popcorn entertainment, okay? But outside of that, it does have some very flawed issues. I mean, just objectively speaking, when it comes to a movie, most movies with good storytelling should have a second act in their film, right? It's that transitional period where after you get you meet all the characters and they become established and you understand the fundamentals of the story, you then sort of segue before you get to the climax. Thunderbolts doesn't have that segue. They simply open up the movie. It takes place in one location in a bunker underground for 45 minutes. They get into a limo, and the next thing you know, they're in the big city fighting the bad guy, and 10 minutes later, or what feels like 10 minutes later, the movie concludes and it's over. And for me, I think technically speaking, that's problematic for a movie. But that doesn't mean it's not entertaining. It doesn't mean I didn't like the characters. I just think as far as the narrative goes of the Thunderbolts, I just think there's some issues there. Now, the thing about the internet, everyone's hyperbolic and everyone's out for clicks. And there's no such thing as nuance, right? You can't just like say the movie's good and you like some of it, but some of it sucked. No. You can't say that anymore. You either have to hate it or you have to love it and say it's the best Marvel movie ever created. And thank you to the Disney Corporation for giving us this product that we can consume over and over again. Thank you so much. Here's the thing about all of this. I like to step back. It's almost a social experiment at this point. Everyone who says this is the best Marvel movie and Marvel's back, 2 Marvel movies from now, no one will remember this movie, talk about it, or reference it again. It'll be forgotten. Just like everyone loved Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Best Marvel movie ever. 2 years later, no one talks about it, and no one references it. So that's how I feel about every new installment of Marvel movies. Now, once again, I still liked the movie. I think it's a good time. I'm curious what you guys thought about it. Please chime in the comments right now. I'm looking at the comments. Talk about Thunderbolts. Every topic that we get on, comment about that topic, and then we'll move to the next thing. And if you guys leave any super chats or anything, I will get to those. I promise you. I will scroll back and get to them. I don't miss anything. All right. So yeah, as far as Thunderbolts goes, I thought Florence Pugh, her character Yelena, was phenomenal. I liked John Walker's Kmart Captain America asshole character. I thought he was great, and I think he's a far more interesting interpretation of Captain America than Falcon is. Sorry, Anthony Mackie. I like me some Anthony Mackie, but this current incarnation of Captain America just it feels like it belongs on TV. I thought the character Bob was sort of interesting, though I wanted more from the character, and I will talk extensively more about the character Bob in a spoiler video, because there's a lot of things and comparisons I'd like to make to the character. But outside of that, most of the other characters were sort of like background noise, except for Red Guardian. I think David Harbour's Red Guardian is probably one of my favorite characters in the MCU right now. Why? Because he sort of reminds me of like Mr. Incredible ever so slightly. He's like this middle-aged guy who has these strong dad vibes, but he's still a superhero and he's powerful and strong, but he still feels like a dad at heart. And that's what I like most about him. But very problematic movie. And the biggest issue I have with Marvel movies at this point is nothing really feels like it has a consequence to it, right? like you can undo everything bad that happens. And this movie is almost a testament to that, because at one point the movie does go a bit dark, right? I'm like, oh, commit to this. And they do for like 4 seconds. And then of course in Marvel fashion, they just kind of undo it. And that to me is just, it takes me out of this universe, because I know anything that's detrimental doesn't really have a stake, or it doesn't have an outcome that I feel will be, I don't want to say the word depressing. I just mean final. Nothing feels final anymore in the MCU. And that's, I don't know. It kind of feels like wishy-washy to me. So I wish they would change that ever so slightly. But those are my quick thoughts on Thunderbolts. I will put out a spoiler review at some point. And yeah, Sinners. I forgot that I haven't even talked about Sinners in 2 weeks. Oh my gosh. Zach Keel, how's it going, buddy? I saw your question earlier. I will get to it. Taskmaster. Yeah. Taskmaster is probably the most pivotal character in Thunderbolts by far. I'm very happy with what they did with the character in Thunderbolts. I will say that. Just what a waste of time. It was a waste of ink to put that character on the poster. We'll put it that way. Who cares about Taskmaster? All right. We got Marvin says, John, did you watch Revenge of the Goddamn Sith? I will talk about that. We're going to get there. Slow down. Let's all slow way down, all right? Matt Mobile says, I liked it. Sentry origin story was weak, though. Absolutely, it was. And it's not to say that I didn't like the character Sentry. I just think there was more they could have done with it, and maybe they will in the future. But the backstory leading up to it, yeah, it just felt like they went back in and did a rewrite to add 2 pages of explanation on who Sentry is and how they come to be. All right, the next one comes from someone said the Jaws popcorn bucket is sold out. I'm glad I bought that shit right before we went live tonight. We call him B-grade America. You know what? I like Kmart Captain America. I do. Sin says Marvel comedy is trash. It ruins everything. See, the thing about Thunderbolts, I'm not hating on the movie. I'm not. I just think it's a very flawed movie. And my biggest thing is I just can't stand the hyperbolic love for something that comes out just because it's new. And people just want that facade of positivity for clicks. It's like, you might think you like it, but if you just stepped back and did some objective thinking and searched your true feelings, it's not like an A+ movie. It's not a 5 out of 5 star movie. It's not. It really isn't. If you want to say it's a B movie, hey, fine. It's all subjective, I guess, but I think objectively speaking, fundamentally, it is not a strong movie, but it has great characters. But the comedy, I think, works. I like some of the comedy in the movie. I thought it was fine for a comic book movie that you eat some popcorn to and watch. But other than that, those are my quick thoughts on Thunderbolts. Now let's get into the next topic here. And that next juicy, glorious topic is we got Predator Badlands coming out. And I am excited about this. Now, this is from the same director of Prey. Now, when it comes to the Hulu Predator movie Prey, I did not like it as much as I was hoping I would. Now, I'm a huge Predator fan. This is one of those movies that made me ever want to work out or go to the gym. And, watching Arnold all jacked up fighting an alien in the jungle, it still does things to me that I can't explain to this day. But this new Predator film, which is actually coming to IMAX November 7th, I believe, it looks good. It looks like a fun time. And I'm just glad we're finally getting a dedicated Predator flick, right? We're going to the Predator's home planet. And now the Predator needs to go seek out something to hunt, something huge, something dangerous to prove themselves, to prove their manhood, if you will. And they're going to team up with, it looks like a human creature or human of some sort. And the thing I like about this Predator is it's a younger Predator, coming into their state of manhood to prove that they're a warrior. And I've been saying this for years. I've always wanted to see, imagine Apocalypto, the Mel Gibson Apocalypto movie from 2006, which is one of the most underrated movies of all time. Imagine that movie, but with a Predator in it. And it sort of feels like we're getting a little bit of that. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm just glad we're getting more Predator, right? Thank you. Give me more of that. The trailer looks cool. Some people are shitting on the Predator design. I think it looks fine. I have no complaints with it. I think it looks kind of cool. I don't know. What do you guys think about it? Think it looks kind of cool? Let's see here. Yeah, there it is. Look at that. You ugly son of a bitch. Look at that thing. I think that's a good design for Predator. I mean, it's a little different, but you got to change it up just ever so slightly. And plus, if it's a younger Predator, I can live with that. Now, there's probably going to be a stupid, annoying human character in this movie, but either way. But I think the new Predator movie looks awesome. Predator Badlands? Hey, sign me up. Can't wait to see it. Do you guys have any quick thoughts on Predator Badlands? The movie guy says Prey was gay AF. I thought it was just kind of boring. But I get that they were trying to do what they could with a minimal budget, but it just felt so bleak to me. Matt Mobile says, is that an Independence Day alien skull or what? It looks like that, doesn't it? I could almost see them connecting it. I mean, keep in mind, Independence Day was owned by Fox, who is now owned by Disney, who owns Fox, and Predator is a Fox movie. So, technically speaking, so anything's possible. Maybe it is. Maybe they killed one of the... they punched one of the aliens from Independence Day in the fucking face long before Will Smith ever got his hands on it. Welcome to Earth. Maybe. It could be. I hear the Predator is a runt. Yeah, it's a smaller Predator, which I kind of like. Like, he has to overcome some physical challenges and make up for it with wit and thinking outside of the box. So I'm all for it. I think it looks awesome. Blu-ray Addict says, I really liked Prey. Yeah, I watched it once. I don't think I could watch it again. All right. The next main topic I want to talk about tonight is a movie that no one is talking about. And that is a movie called The Accountant 2, starring my good buddy Ben Affleck, which we do hang out sometimes on the weekends and we play disc golf together. That's not true. Anyway, I did see this movie a week ago. Here was my quick review I put on Twitter. Was Accountant 2 worth the 8-year wait? Question mark. It's a radically different vibe from the first, more of a buddy action comedy with Affleck and Bernthal as mismatched brothers. The humor's cranked way up, and while that part works, the story is messy, feels forced, and drags at times. Yeah, I thought the movie actually got pretty boring at the halfway point. But anyway, I thought Affleck and Bernthal were the best things about this movie. I liked their dynamic and their banter. But it's a really forgettable movie. And I get why no one's talking about it. Like, I saw the movie last week and I sort of forgot I saw it until tonight when I was coming up with topics for this live show. So what did you guys think about The Accountant 2? I will say I much prefer the tone of the first Accountant. I just think it's a better movie as far as the narrative and story goes. A far superior film. And this film wants to focus on like child trafficking, but it doesn't really commit to it. Nor does it really like get dark or gritty with that topic as much as I think you could to make me care about what's going on. It just sort of skims the surface. And like, for example, they show like these here goes my monetization on the live stream, but they show like these child trafficking like villages where these kids live, and it just looks like a summer camp to me. I'm like, okay, what's the problem here? I mean, and then the comedy is really heightened in this one, almost like slapstick comedy. But the thing is, like, the story just does not work. Halfway through the movie, I literally forgot like what the characters were doing, and I think they did too. And also, I think that the direction of this one just did not feel as competent as the first one. There's like this big shootout action scene in the climax of the movie. And there's so much smoke and fog going on during this sequence. And some of it almost looked like digital in the foreground to mask what was happening. But it just felt like all this action was taking place, but you couldn't see anything happening on the screen. It was really boring. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Accountant 2. If you never see the movie, you kind of didn't miss anything, you know? So was it worth waiting 8 years for a sequel? I don't think so. I'm really surprised this is like the concept that took 8 years to formulate and create into a movie. So Flickinator. Yeah, I'll take that. Who's Ben Affleck? He's Daredevil. He's Batman. Yeah, see, no one cares about Accountant 2. All right. Now, the next main topic I want to go to, we got a lot of main topics here. The next one I want to talk about tonight is the Jaws popcorn bucket baby. So, look at this bad boy. Look at that beautiful popcorn bucket. Don't you just want to put your hand in there and have Bruce just eat it right off your wrist, or just eat some popcorn out of this? Now, this has a very special place in my heart. The Jaws popcorn bucket reminds me of a simpler time in life. And what is that time? Well, it was about 10 or 11 or maybe 12 or 13 years ago. It's been a long time. I've been doing this way too long. But it reminds me of Jaws in my pool. Now, if you've never seen that video, it has 2 million views. It's on this channel. I think you guys should go check it out. It's where I play with a little toy, plastic Jaws toy in my swimming pool in my mother's backyard. For some odd reason, it went viral. I'll never understand it. But if I get this popcorn bucket, maybe I will do the same thing. But this is from Alamo Draft House, and you can order it online. Now, someone said it was sold out a few minutes ago, and it very well could be, because I could see everyone wanting this. This is sort of like the popcorn bucket you need to have. You don't just want this. This is a necessity to eat popcorn out of. So, yeah, I love it. I think it's a cool design, and I like how it looks like his jaw I like how it looks like the jaw will close up, and you can kind of like make it look a little more like the shark without having his lower jaw ripped off. Anyway, pretty awesome. Can't wait to eat some popcorn out of it. And speaking of popcorn buckets, and by the way, are you guys going to pick that up? Let me know in the comments right now. Speaking of popcorn buckets, and this will answer another question, I got the Darth Vader popcorn bucket from AMC last week. And by the way, I meant to make a video on this, but guess what? The next day, life's obligations got in the way and I didn't have time to do it. I wanted to, but now here we are. This is a cool little popcorn bucket. Now, the top of his helmet opens up. Now, don't forget, this is the helmet of a child murderer named Anakin Skywalker. That's right, he brutally murdered children. Can we ever forgive those sins against humanity? Well, I can. But anyway, Cool popcorn bucket, one of the coolest ones I've seen. And when it comes to popcorn buckets, I always like to buy ones that I can put on the shelf and I wouldn't be embarrassed by if someone saw it. And this is definitely one of those. Pretty legit. It also makes this sound right here. So here's where the popcorn goes, obviously. You put your hand in there, put some popcorn in there. But it also makes sound if you flip the switch. Listen to that. Oh yeah, baby. That's what my wife sounds like when she's sleeping. But anyway, I like it. But the thing I don't like is like, why would I want this to make sound? So I gotta flip the switch, sit it down, and like listen to it breathe. Or what else would you do? Take it in the theater when you're watching Revenge of the Sith and turn on this annoying breathing sound? Just do that for 2 hours during the movie? Just see how pissed off you can make the entire audience. That would almost be a good video idea. Just turn this on and piss everyone off in the theater. What else was I going to say about this? Oh yes, rather than it breathe very heavily and you listen to a man suffering from like sleep apnea where he needs a CPAP machine, I wish like the eyes lit up red or something different. Like, why make it make sounds? That's so stupid. But nevertheless, cool popcorn bucket. And is it worth $45? That's questionable at best. Are any of these popcorn buckets worth more than $10? Probably not, but it makes me feel good about who I am and what I'm doing in life. So, pretty cool popcorn bucket that I'm gonna keep on the shelf for a while. But I cannot wait to get my hands on that Jaws popcorn bucket. Give it to me now. And by the way, speaking of Jaws and the 50th anniversary, I do want to do a movie night in my backyard. I have a 20-foot inflatable screen, and sometimes I inflate it and we watch movies back there. So maybe I'll do a Jaws movie night this summer. It just feels right. I almost want to get like a little inflatable kiddie pool and sit in that as I watch the movie on the big screen. And maybe I'll do Jaws in my pool #2. Huh? What about that? What do you guys think about that viral video idea? Okay. Yeah. You were supposed to be the chosen one. Too late, child murderer. Okay, let's go to the... Was there any other topics I wanted to talk about? Oh yeah, the last main topic we have to talk about. We have got to talk about this. And that is a new upcoming movie from A24 called The Smashing Machine, starring Rock the Dwayne Johnson. And this is based on the UFC fighter Mark Kerr. And this is from Benny Safdie, who was one of the directors of Uncut Gems, Good Time. And first of all, I think the title's cool as shit. The Smashing Machine. Just a cool title. But this is my kind of movie. Like, if you can go into my brain and make a movie that makes me feel something that I want to see, that's not some bloated, big comic book movie, this is my type of flick, man. This just speaks to me. And when it comes to this film, one of my favorite things about it is you can barely even tell this is The Rock. Outside of the amazing muscle definition that's all jacked up on human growth hormone and TRT, the facial structure, I mean, that looks like Mark Kerr, the fighter. The prosthetics in this movie alone look phenomenal. So the trailer speaks to me, and it reminds me of other movies like The Wrestler starring Mickey Rourke, and that grittiness. You have a man who's dedicated to his craft. He's going to do whatever it takes to get there. And so I like that grittiness to it, you know. And this isn't pro wrestling. This is actual MMA, but sort of like the same vibe and concept. It also sort of reminds me of a movie that just came out a couple months ago, and that was Magazine Dreams, where you once again have a man who's dedicated, who has this passion for what he wants to do and this drive, but there's like this physicality behind it, right? Yeah, that's what I like about it. That's the kind of movies I like. So what do you guys think about Smashing Machine starring The Rock? And if for nothing else, I'm just so happy that we're going to see a movie starring The Rock where he's not playing himself. So this could potentially be the best Rock movie ever made, and I can't wait to see it. Maybe he'll win an Oscar. Who knows? Anything's possible. Blu-ray Addict says, The Rock and Emily Blunt are also going to be in Scorsese's new crime movie with Leo. Yeah, I can't wait to see that, and I'm hoping The Rock doesn't play himself in that one either. I've heard that he plays like a Hawaiian mobster of some sort, so that could be interesting, but I'm curious if he just plays like Rock, or maybe he plays like a different incarnation of the character. Or maybe, hey, you know what they should do with The Rock in the new Scorsese movie? Give him like a fat suit. Make him like this obese, big, giant man. And just change his physicality ever so slightly, right? You know what I mean? Get rid of the 8-pack abs and, like, I don't know, make him look like this big bloated. I don't know. That just, why do I want The Rock to be morbidly obese? I don't know. It's just something different. I want to see it. Call me crazy. Balloon Raccoon says, I'd love to see The Rock kill it in the role like that. I hope he pulls it off. I mean, dude, he looks the part. Well, and I think The Rock can act if you just give him some good direction. You know, sometimes his ego gets in the way, but I think with something like this, I think he will try to be different. So if you know the story about Mark Kerr, there's some interesting stuff that happens, especially some of the fights in his past. Looks like a good time. All right. So without further ado, let's dive into your questions. That's everything, all the main topics I wanted to talk about tonight. And now that we got that out of the way, we can dive into your glorious questions, and here they go. The first one comes from Nose is Wild, who says, what are your thoughts on fallout after WrestleMania main event? The Rock interview on McAfee was Hulk Hogan level BS. Well, speaking of The Rock, that was a good question to follow up. So, as far as The Rock's concerned when it comes to WrestleMania, it definitely felt like that entire match was booked for The Rock to interfere in it. But in place of that, we got a 120-pound skeleton wrapped in electrical tape named Travis Scott, who walked down to the ring looking like a frail senior citizen who was lost. And it sort of just killed the momentum of that match. And I think The Rock should have been in that spot. And I did see the interview you're referring to, and it just felt like there was a power play sort of dictating what happened. And I felt like he was sort of backtracking at that point. Maybe they couldn't come to an agreement. Maybe he didn't want to get on a plane to go to Vegas for WrestleMania. I couldn't tell you. But yeah, I feel like he was supposed to be there, but because The Rock is probably very egotistical. But then again, I weighed 300 pounds of pure muscle and I had hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank, I probably would be too. I mean, I get it. All right. The next one comes from Zach Keel. How's it going, Zach? And by the way, every super chat that's $10 or over, we're going to do a party popper from now on. Are you guys ready for it? Here you go, Zach. Here's your party popper. Ooh, baby. Did you like that? I hope you enjoyed it. All right. I get to clean all that shit up after the live show, but small price to pay. Anyway, Zach, fun story about Zach. We've seen 2 movies together. Now, the first one, I didn't even know he was in the audience. He's been a long-time viewer, so I appreciate that. On the last movie, I got to meet him for a few minutes and talk to him afterwards, so I appreciate you sticking around after the movie dropped to hang out and talk. But the first time Zach and I were in the same movie was Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And the reason I know he was there is because he commented about 2 of the most annoying douchebags who've ever sat down to watch a movie in the cinema. And I'll give you a quick backstory. When we were watching that movie, there were 2 douchebags sitting in like the front row of the theater. And their phones were going off the entire time because they have no etiquette. Okay? They're mutants. And at one point, one of the stupid kids drops his phone in the reclining seat. It gets lost. So what does he do? He pings his phone with his watch like 75 times, and the phone's just going bing, 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 bing for 5 minutes as they search for it. Once again, no etiquette. And I hope on their way home from the movie theater, they got in a violent car accident and both of their heads went through the windshield and they're in a lot of agonizing pain right now. But further... But getting back to the point of the story, it was just a really annoying theater experience, right? And Zach happened to be in the same theater and then commented on the experience during a live show. So anyway, let's get to Zach's question here. Thunderbolts was decent. I'm in complete agreement that there's no second act. Certain things just happen without any build-up to rush to the third act. A little jarring. Sinners, though, was amazing. I agree. I loved Sinners. I thought it was phenomenal. God, I'm so mad at myself. I shot a review for Sinners. I have the review. I just ran out of time to edit it. And by the time I had time to edit it, it was a week later. And I'm like, well, no one cares about this anymore. But I really enjoyed Sinners. It was very, very Tarantino-esque. I love that it was shot on film. It looked glorious. And just movies shot on film just look better. They do. They feel like true cinema. And I think when you have a good story and a great script to back that up, clearly it'll just heighten everything. But Haley Steinfeld in the movie was great. I liked how she was like sort of portraying like she was like 1/8 black or something. The movie does say that. She's like, "Bo, get the fuck out of my face." I'm like, this is great. And the movie does go off the rails. Now, it is very From Dusk Till Dawnish. I will say that had a strong inspiration. And by the way, when it comes to the director, Ryan Coogler, has he ever once said in any interview when it comes to Sinners that he was slightly influenced by Tarantino? Has he actually admitted that or said that once? I just feel like he was. I'm just putting it out there. It feels like he was influenced, but great movie. I loved it. I think it's probably Michael B. Jordan's best performance. And I liked me some Creed, but I will say this is probably the better movie and better performance. And I was blown away by it. Quite enjoyed it. It's one of those movies that I cannot wait to buy on 4K to watch at home. And I have not had that feeling in a very, very long time. So I loved me some Sinners, man. So thanks for the question, Zach. And it was nice meeting you, buddy. The next one comes from Patrice Chaswick, who says, what are some movies that you think are perfection? Example, Back to the Future, The Lion King, T2, 50 Shades of Grey. Just kidding. What's wrong with 50 Shades of Grey, huh? I don't make love. I fuck hard. I'm sorry for that. Jurassic Park would be another movie, right? Jaws would be another movie. Gosh. That are perfection. I think Shawshank Redemption is perfection. I think Forrest Gump is perfection. I think T2 Judgment Day is... You mentioned T2, sorry. Those are just a few, man. There's probably 100 other movies that I would have to do some soul searching on. I think Silence of the Lambs is like a perfect movie. And the thing is, the way you know something is a perfect movie is you've seen it 100 times. You step back and you think about it, objectively or subjectively, and you think to yourself, is there anything I would change to make that better? Or was there anything in there that like took away from that movie? And if you can answer both of those questions without changing anything or adding anything, that to me is a perfect movie. So yeah, I think those are all good choices. But like I said, I throw some Shawshank in there, for example. What's something else I would put in there? Let me ask you guys that question in the chat. What outside of those movies, what do you consider to be a perfect movie? Let me know that down below. All right. And as you guys are coming up with some answers real quick, maybe There Will Be Blood would be another one I quite enjoy. All right, the next one comes from Avocado Balls Johnson, who says, MCU movies are cinematic pig feed. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not some pretentious asshole. You guys know me, right? I think comic book slop is great. I think when you do it right, there's nothing better than watching a big superhero movie with dudes wearing spandex punching each other and you can eat some popcorn. That's beautiful. That's that's a good time, right? But I think sometimes at this point, you know, when you're 97 movies into the MCU, I just feel like there's no other excuse than like near perfection for most of those movies coming out. It's like, yeah, they're going to be formulaic to a certain degree, but at the same time, it's like, you know what works, just like capitalize on that more. And they did in Thunderbolts. I think like they got a lot of the characters right, and I think they did a lot with what they had to work with. But it's just, there's no excuse for like not having a second act in your movie. There's no excuse just for the climax to be like 7 minutes in a city where there's no real consequences to anything that we just watched for the last 10 minutes. And they all save little kids as debris falls down upon their heads. It just felt so anticlimactic. And then furthermore, you have Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and it just, her character is this like political, corrupt political leader who's pulling the strings. What they did with her character by the end of the film, I was like, that is like a slap in the face. And I couldn't take anything that she does serious. It just felt so zany, and it felt like Elaine from Seinfeld trying to be like this authority figure. And I'm just like, shut up. Nothing to do with her character was interesting. None of it was intriguing. And the thing is, when it comes to like a big comic book action movie, hear me out for a second, there wasn't really one action scene in Thunderbolts that I think I would remember in like a month from now. Like I'm trying to like close my eyes right now and think of like, that scene was awesome. But what is that scene? Tell me it. Like, what is it? The only thing I really thought was like memorable was when they use some teamwork and they crawl up this like this elevator shaft. I thought that was like a memorable sequence in the first act of the movie, but even that's like nothing to write home about. So yeah, everyone's buzzing about this movie, but in 3 weeks, no one will be talking about it. And that drives me crazy when it comes to that hyperbolic bullshit on social media. It disgusts me to my core. It's like, you don't mean what you're saying. You're a liar. And even if you do mean it, you don't. So anyway, those are my thoughts on Thunderbolts once again. Let's see. Goodfellas. Okay. Goodfellas is Casino. Definitely. I think I like Casino more. I really do. I think it's just the better movie. Oh, you know, another one would be Matrix. Someone said Toy Story 2, Home Alone, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Once again, I could agree with all of those. Home Alone would be my choice. If I had to pick like top 10 movies that are perfect, no fat on the bone, pure perfection, Home Alone would be one of those movies. Dazed and Confused, another one. Ghostbusters, yes. Empire Strikes Back, yes. Fargo, good choice. Whiplash, I would agree with that. Tremors. Yeah, I mean, as far as like a fun B movie goes, Tremors is like top notch. Predator, yes, another one. So great choices, absolutely. Yeah, someone says Superbad, and I'm glad you did. That's not a movie that a lot of people would say is like a perfect movie. But for me, Superbad's one of my favorite comedies because I feel that way about it as a comedy. It doesn't overstay its welcome. You're fulfilled by the end of the movie. It's funny as shit. There's dick drawings in it. What more could you want? And there's a character named McLovin. Phenomenal. Zach Keel says Sinners will be talked about much longer, and as it should be. It should be. It deserves it. Bruce Cook says, "What about Nightcrawler?" Oh, I agree. Nightcrawler is a perfect movie for me. And when you watch the movie Nightcrawler, and the reason I love it so much is like once again, it's one of those movies that I'm like, okay, what could they have done differently within their means to make this movie better? And I can't really come up with much more than what they gave me. Nightcrawler was just like lightning in a bottle for me. So, yeah, good choices. Maybe I should make a video about this. Like, the most perfect movies of all time. That could be good. All right. Let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from the movie guy who says, let me take a drink of my alcoholic beverage. That is a tasty beverage. And you say, Hey, John, have you ever seen Shoot 'em Up starring Clive Owen? It's a nonstop action-packed fun ride that Owen and Giamatti deserve an Oscar. You hear that, Spider-Man? I'm going to go out there. I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him, Spider-Man. That's my Giamatti impression. I have seen Shoot 'em Up. I saw that in theaters. What was that, 2000 and... Was that like 2007 or 8 or 9? It was somewhere in there. I watched it once. I do remember Clive Owen's character eating a carrot the whole time. And it was one of those movies where you have the guy and he's like in a crazy situation and it's just non-stop crazy action, right? I saw it once and that's all I really remember about the movie. So, there's also a new movie coming out that sort of reminds me of that with Josh Arnett. It's called, not Arnett, Harnett. Sorry. Is it Harnett or Arnett? Harnett, right? It's called Fight or Flight. I have a screener for it. I've been meaning to watch, but sort of reminds me of that same vibe. The next one comes from Upshot Music TV, who says, Johnny Lawn Rocket, what would piss you off more? Austin Butler keeps talking like Elvis or starts talking like Patrick Bateman in interviews? Ooh, that's a good question. I don't think there's anything that pisses me off more than Austin Butler. And that's not even him talking like Elvis. For some reason, when I look at him, I just can't take him serious. And when he starts talking like Elvis, yeah. So I started in this movie, and I'm just talking all deep, like I'm an intellectual. You know, it's like, shut up, just shut your mouth. You know what? I can live with Austin Butler talking like Elvis, but trying to watch him talk like Patrick Bateman, I just don't know how I'm going to be able to take that on a personal level. I think it'll affect me deeply. Josh Hartnett, yes. Hey, the guy took like 10, 15 years off from acting. I forgot how to say his name. He looks too much like a Calvin Klein model. He looks too much like my trashy cousin who lives in southern Ohio. Except Austin Butler just has Austin Butler has his teeth. My cousin does not. You know, that's the way I feel about him. Do you ever just see some actors and you think to yourself, like, yeah, but how did you get famous? You know what I mean? All right, let's go to the next one here. Next one comes from Clark Ingleton, who says, what's the quintessential mom movie and quintessential dad movie and grandma and grandpa movie? Great question. As far as like a dad movie goes, you got to go with Predator or Terminator, T2 Judgment Day, or Point Break. Those are always sort of my dad movies. Those are the movies I watched with my dad. I'd say those. As far as like a grandma and grandpa movie, I don't know. Cocoon? What do old people like these days? Old people like... I don't know. I'm trying to think of like a grandma and grandpa movie. I'm trying to think of like maybe like that's a great question, man. I'm trying to think of like a class. I can name classics off the top of my head, but I'm trying to think of something like old people. Like a lot of old men like to watch John Wayne Western movies, right? And old women like to watch like melodramas. You know, The Golden Pond. There you go. Wizard of Oz. There you go. We'll go with those. And a good mom movie. I don't know. Pretty Woman. How's that? Milk Money. Have you ever seen Milk Money? You should. The Weatherman. Or Weatherman. Yeah, sausage. My grandparents always loved Sausage Party. And my grandfather specifically loved the South Park movie. And by specifically loved the South Park movie, I remember begging him to take me to the video rental store. We drove across town. I rented the South Park movie. I just walked in, rented it, came outside, and went back to their house, my grandparents' house, to watch it, right? And 30 minutes into the movie, when Saddam Hussein's on the screen blowing Satan, my grandfather walks in at this pivotal moment. He looks at the screen, he looks at me. He looks at the screen, he looks at me. And then he says, "You had me drive across town to get this shit?" And part of me, even as a kid, I had to agree with him. I was like, yeah, I guess you're right. But yeah, those are a few. Yeah, or Magic Mike, yes. Moms love Magic Mike. Mrs. Doubtfire, okay. I remember seeing Mrs. Doubtfire with my dad, and I was thinking, because my parents were both divorced at the time, and Mrs. Doubtfire is about a couple who was separated, but the father cross-dresses like an old lady to infiltrate his children's home and pretend to be a nanny. And I always thought in the back of my mind, I was like, you know what, Dad? You could do that. You could dress like a woman and come hang out with me. Nobody's ever going to know the difference, right? And you look back on things like that later on in life, and you just go, wow, that was... You could never make another movie like Mrs. Doubtfire, could you? So let's go to the next one. And here it goes. Your name here says... Funny how the greatest Vader scene was in Rogue One, celebrating 10 years with the wife this weekend. Wishing you and your wife the same. God bless. Well, thanks, man. Thank you so much for that. Well, yeah, the thing about Rogue One, that scene that they went back and reshot after the fact because they just felt like they needed more in the movie, and they did. Isn't it baffling that we couldn't just get like 30 minutes of that? Just 30 minutes of badass Darth Vader doing what he does best. And the thing is, why haven't we gotten such since then? That's all we want to see. We want to see badass Darth Vader shit. Why can't they just give us that? We don't need anything else. We don't need any of this other random mumbo jumbo stuff that Disney's crapping out with the Star Wars logo attached to it. We don't want any of it. Just give us Darth Vader doing badass Darth Vader stuff. That's all I want to see. But real quick, somebody did ask me earlier about going to see Revenge of the Sith in theaters. And I did. I wanted to see it. I really did. I meant to do it. I just didn't have time this week to do it. And I did want to check it out. I have a special place in my heart for Phantom Menace because it was the first Star Wars movie I saw in theaters back in '99. But Revenge of the Sith, it feels like a worthy theater experience, right? And I did want to check it out because it's been a long time since I've seen the movie. But with all of that said, I do own it on 4K. I do have an 83-inch OLED TV. I have a popcorn machine, so I guess I could just watch that shit at home. You know what I mean? But I do want to watch it. I really do. I have been sort of in the mood to check it out. I just want to see Anakin slaughter those kids, those little younglings. Oh yeah, take them out one by one. Don't do it too fast. I want you to savor the flavor. Kill your competition young, and they won't be there to go up against you later. That's my motto. Larry Chu says, that must be exciting to see a fun YouTuber in the theater. Are you speaking to me or somebody else? I don't know how exciting it would be to see a YouTuber in the theater. I've seen them there. I just try to actively avoid them. I'm like, I know that guy. No, if you ever see me in the theater, hey, come up and give me a high five. All right, let's go to the next one here. And the next question comes from the movie guy who says, speaking of Darth Vader, how do you feel about them editing in Darth Vader yelling, "No!" as he throws the Emperor down the reactor shaft in Return of the Jedi? It's one of those examples of Lucas just putting his bulbousy little fingers back into what he's already done. And it's like, leave it alone, man. It was great the first time. We don't need to like muddy the waters. Now, it is his art, or it is his work of art, and he is the creator of it. And I guess it's his right to do with it as he pleases. But then again, I think at a certain point, whenever an artist gives his artwork or his film to an audience for 30 years, and we take it and we love it and we're passionate about it and it becomes part of our cinematic souls, I think at that point it should be off limits. Like, stop fucking with it. You know what I mean? Like, Leonardo da Vinci didn't keep going back with the Mona Lisa and going, yeah, I don't know about that. Let me add a little more to her eyebrow right there. Oh, that looks good. Let me plump up those lips. Oh yeah. Get some Botox in them bitches, plump them way up. I love it. No, he didn't do that. A masterpiece is a masterpiece. Leave it alone. So I don't like it. I don't like that he added the no. Does it take anything away? I guess not. But did it add anything either besides a stupid audio clip that he took from a movie that he made 30 years later? Even this scene where he says no in Revenge of the Sith, it's kind of stupid in that scene as well, isn't it? No! Like, who's gonna fucking say that? Who's gonna say that? Nobody. I can see him destroying some shit, breaking some stuff, snapping a few people's necks with his Jedi mind tricks, but to say that? Nah. It just feels so forced. All right, let's go to the next one here. The next one comes from Claudio Rogajon, man. How have you been? How you doing, Claudia? I missed you, man. We all missed you. Let's talk about what you have to say, though. Hey, John. I saw Revenge of the Sith again. It was okay, with some bad acting and dialogue, but one thing I noticed was that Anakin's arc of becoming a Sith I wish was explained better, as he was clearly reluctant to do so, but only did to save Padme. Yeah, it did feel like he just sold his soul to the devil without asking any follow-up questions. And maybe that's a movie trope I've never loved, because it's like everyone just takes an answer at surface value and they just go, okay, that's what some creepy guy said. Let me just throw my life away and go down the path of darkness and solitude because this creepy guy who's clearly lying, I'm going to believe everything he says. But then again, that makes me question a lot of other things about Anakin. If he has these Jedi powers and abilities and all these midichlorians, he's pretty bad at reading people, isn't he? Like, he has no intuition about him. It's like you can do all this crazy shit with a lightsaber and move things with your mind, and you're supposed to be the chosen one, but yet you just can't read the most seedy guy in the galaxy. Like, you just don't even, like, not going to double check on any of this. Just, okay, that's the path. Okay, fine. Have fun, man. Go murder some kids in the name of love. Whatever you got to do to feel good about yourself. Good point, though. I do agree with you. There should have been a little more reasoning behind that. A little more motivation. I do agree with you on that. It's like the idea of Darth Vader or Anakin turning to the dark side, when you mention it in the original trilogy, it's like, okay, yeah, maybe he did. But when you actually see it on screen, it's like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm buying this. I get what you're saying. That's a good point. Caesar H says his mom's death really messed him up. You know what? Okay, that is some good motivation. Finds out his mom's dead. Hey, I'd be pissed off too. But then again, it's like, maybe you should have went back and saved her a little bit sooner. Just putting it out there. Okay. It's like you couldn't just like Cash App the slave owners some money and buy her freedom when you got to safety. Call me crazy. I don't know. All right, let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from Tripler3, who says, what movie has the best opening scene in cinematic history? American Beauty or World's Greatest Dad? Oh, man. Both involve jerking off, if I stand corrected, right? It's tough. That's tough. I'm not quite sure. I think American Beauty. World's Greatest Dad is definitely a movie you guys should all... If you like Robin Williams and you want to see one of the darkest comedic performances from Robin Williams, watch World's Greatest Dad. It gets pretty dark. Pretty dark movie. But I'd go with American Beauty. Plus, when he's naked working out in the garage... hey, if I had weights in my garage, that's where I'd be right now. Avocado Balls Johnson says Aliens versus Predator Requiem is a better Predator movie than Predators. The Predator and Prey, at least that movie had balls and didn't skimp on the gore. Better than Predator. I vaguely remember the movie Predators. Vaguely. And that's the one I watched maybe once. I just wasn't into it. I don't remember if I didn't like the story or maybe looking at Adrian Brody in the movie. Just, I don't know. I don't know what it was. Something was not all that compelling about that film. Alien versus Predator Requiem, I just remember that kind of feeling cheap. I remember it kind of felt like everything was taking place on a sound stage. It just it looked like such a set. But I haven't seen that movie in a very long time. Wasn't Predator versus or Alien versus Predator Requiem? Wasn't that the one that was like made in like 2007 and the movie's so dark you can barely tell what's happening? Is that? I think that's the one. I didn't like that then. I was not a fan of that movie. Now, Alien versus Predator is kind of a fun, guilty pleasure, rainy day movie. Upshot Music TV says Drive. Yeah, going back to best opening scenes of all time. Well, even the opening scene in Back to the Future is pretty phenomenal, right? You have the camera pans over looking at all the elaborate shit from Doc, and it's all there just to feed Einstein. And then Marty comes in the room and plays the guitar and finds the plutonium and then takes off to school. That's a great opening scene. But Drive, I love the chase scene in the opening of Drive. Love it quite a bit. I give you a time and a place and I'm yours. Outside of that, I don't know you. Zach Kill says, what do you think of Alaskan bush people? I watched a series on like National Geographic or was it Discovery TV about some Alaskan bush people. Part of me always wanted to be one of them, but I know I would survive for like 7 minutes in Alaska and probably freeze to death and die. And that would be in the summertime. So yeah, I always watched Life Below Zero when it comes to Alaskan type shows. I really enjoyed that. Oh, well, my live show's a pleasant distraction. Well, thank you for that. But then again, hey, if you can watch Alaskan bush people right now, it's probably better than this shit right here. Let's all be honest. Okay, let's go to the next one here. Yeah, Requiem was very dark, right? It was like they had no lighting in that movie. Was that just to mask how shitty everything was? I don't know. The movie guy says, have you seen Son of Batman animated trilogy? I don't think I have. Son of Batman? I feel like maybe there was an animated movie. I think I did watch one of the animated movies with Son of Batman. Like years and years ago. Was that like 2015 or 2016? I feel like I did. Don't ask me anything about it. Couldn't tell you. But I feel like I did. But isn't that sort of going to be the plot to Brave and the Bold, the upcoming live-action Batman movie in the James Gunn universe, where Batman has a kid? Night King 01 back again says, the Smashing Machine trailer just got me super hyped. Every MMA fighter that's seen the trailer is singing its praises. This gets me even more hyped. A Rock movie I'm actually excited for. I know, it's crazy, man. I usually run the other way when The Rock's involved, but this just looks like a role made for him. There's not many actors who could portray a believable, realistic version of Mark Kerr, the fighter, who in fact was like 6'3", all jacked up on human growth hormones and had trapezius muscles that just you want to take a bite out of. You could see the protein oozing out of them. What am I talking about? I don't know. But yeah, it looks great. Michael Witherspoon says, Smashing Machine looks incredible. Can't wait. Absolutely, man. Looks probably in my top 5 most anticipated movies for the remainder of the year. But I am excited to see the new Mission Impossible. Is it Final Reckoning? Final Reckoning, yeah. Even though Dead Reckoning, I was not a big fan of. But I'm looking forward to it. A couple weeks away. Then we have a new Final Destination movie. We have a live action How to Train Your Dragon movie. I'm sure somebody's excited about it. I just watched the animated movie, kind of the same thing. But all right, the next one comes from Robert Giacinta, who says, ever bump uglies in a theater? I've been to a lot of movies throughout my life, a lot. And in high school, when you live at home, you only have so many options. So, just putting it out there. All right, the next one. It's like, hey, you want to go to the movie theater? What movie do you want to see? It doesn't matter. Let's go. Let's sit in the very back row and let's go to a movie where no one's watching it. Because I love cinema. All right, the next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, don't worry, John, I'm here. I just got home from seeing Sinners at my local theater, and that brings me to my question. What singer's voice can you listen to endlessly without tiring of it? Oh, man. Ooh, that's a good question, man. Lady Gaga. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. How about, You know, hang on. Let me double check something. I was going to say Sammy Hagar. That's a great question. I'm trying to think of like who else I like. I mean, Freddie Mercury had a damn good voice. Bands like AC/DC is good. Let's see. Best singers ever. This is a terrible list. Who puts One Direction on here? Like, this is what I hate about culture now. It's like, fucking, people's taste is dwindling. Rihanna? Yeah, that's not a bad voice, I guess. Chris Cornell, yes, that man had the voice of an angel. The theme song to Casino Royale was beautiful, man. Great stuff. Kenny Loggins, yeah, another good one. James Hetfield, yes, from Metallica. Larry Chu says, I tried to watch a Chris Stuckman video in his like BetterHelp ad, took up more time than the actual review. Well, that's why he made the video for the BetterHelp ad. Hey, I can't talk shit. I've done BetterHelp ads. And I will say, though, man, you know what works better than BetterHelp? ChatGPT. Treat it like a psychiatrist. It can help you. It really can. And it's free. Or come here and I'll help you. You have any mental issues? Just ask away. I'll help you find the light. Favorite Chris Cornell song? Probably from Casino Royale. The James Bond theme song. All right, let's go to the next one here. And the next one is from Michael Witherspoon, who says, do you think that Netflix or any other streaming service artificially inflates its top 10 to get more views for that movie/show? Like, there are times you see something in the top 10 that should have no business being there, or am I overthinking it? Well, I think they can do anything they want because it's all done behind closed doors, and they'll never really admit anything or give you actual numbers on what things are getting, nor do they have to. So I think they can inflate all of their numbers, and I think most media outlets do inflate their numbers. But with all that said, doesn't it just make sense that they put like their new series in the top 10? Like, why would you not? But sometimes I see like random catalog movies in there, like I don't know, movies like 13 going on 30, right? And it's like, it's number 3 on the most watched. And maybe it is, but and why else would it be in there if it wasn't? Like, they have no reason to put this in there. So, potentially. But it's all marketing. Just know corporations will lie to you. But sometimes, I'll tell you this about the Netflix top 10. Sometimes just going through that makes me lose all faith in humanity. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it now. I get it. All right. That's what people are watching. Yeah, you know my name. There it is. Lion Fan says Thunderbolts was a solid movie. What's your definition of solid movie, though? I think it's a fine movie. I think it's entertaining enough. But I wouldn't say it's like the best Marvel movie ever. I'd say it's maybe one of the better Marvel movies since Endgame. But when you compare it to the actual entirety of the MCU and all 47 movies or whatever the hell it is now, where do you place it in that list? I think it would be like in the lower half. I really do. And I think if people watched movies like Thunderbolts 10 years ago, I don't think it would be getting the praise it's getting now. You have to keep in mind, we are at such a low point where if anything's mildly competent and has somewhat compelling characters, it's going to be light. But you have to step back from things like that and compare it to other things. Taskmaster was done dirty. But does anyone give a shit about Taskmaster? Does anyone really care? Did you want to see that character again? Like, whenever Taskmaster took off their helmet and you see, like, the little lady head on the man body, you just go, this looks weird. All right. I just don't think it's I will say this. I don't think this interpretation of Taskmaster was all that compelling. All right, let's go to the next question here. Come on, computer. There we go. Okay. We good. All right. The next one comes from Night King 01, who says, I'm in the minority here, but I thought Sinners was just fine. It's just From Dusk Till Dawn and has the same problem that movie had. It was more interesting before the vampires come in, and the movie just becomes very illogical in the final vampire fight. It kind of does go off the rails, and the movie almost gets more over the top with its slapstick humor when the vampires do come into play. I do agree with you on that. And I do agree that the buildup was the best part of the film. I thought some of the vampire stuff during the climax, I thought they would almost go a little bit bigger with it. And the thing is, and I won't spoil anything, I'm just know that there's vampires that happen in the movie, right? But when they're actually fighting the vampires in the location that they're at, I thought there would be a little more buildup and a little more of like, I guess, a confrontation with them, trying to hold their own, and it just felt like it was over and done with so quickly. And I thought there would be more of that. I thought there would be more like violence and fighting that would drag out a little bit longer than it does. So yeah, I guess that would be my complaint with the movie as well. So I agree with what you're saying. The next one comes from Claudia Rogajan. I also wanted to say I saw a double feature of Crank and Crank 2. I gotta say I heavily enjoyed it. The first one I actually think is pretty good, but the second one I can't tell if it's terrible or not. Also, the second one is a bit unpleasant. I thought Crank 1 was okay. I watched it like once or twice. Crank 2, I remember they shot like some scenes in that movie with while they were John, can you talk? No, you cannot. While they were skating on rollerblades. I remember them shooting like action sequences. And I feel like I forget the name of the directors of the Crank movies, but they get so crazy and hyperbolic with their camera work. And they got so over the top in Crank 2 where it sort of took me out of the movie. It's from the same directors of Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance, that piece of shit. What's that in the bag? A shark or something? I just did not like Crank 2. Robert G. Chanta says they should remake Mrs. Doubtfire, but a horror film. Well, you can watch the horror version of the trailer of that online, which looks phenomenal. Could they get away with making a modern day Mrs. Doubtfire? Could you imagine the implosion that would happen on X from that movie? And especially if you made it into a comedy. Ooh, I'm sure some people are just getting offended by the concept of it. I'd like to see it though. But people can't take jokes any longer. Like, let me tell you this. For the first time ever, because it was my wife's birthday, she made me watch 13 Going on 30 with Jennifer Gardner. I have never seen that movie before. I always thought it was going to be like a Freaky Friday movie. Just some dumb shit that's like, I didn't want to watch it necessarily. But I was very pleasantly surprised by the movie. It felt like a real movie. I liked it. I thought it was funny. There's some raunchy comedy in there. There's some weird shit that happens that I don't feel like you could even get away with nowadays in a comedy movie that's still like a rom-com and it's sort of lighthearted, which is what I would consider 13 Going on 30. But some of the stuff they do in that movie where like Jennifer Gardner's like a 30-year-old lady hanging out with like 10-year-old girls in her apartment, which like now you kind of go, well, that's a little bit weird. And if there was a dude version of 13 Going on 30, that dude would be considered a predator and he'd be on some list somewhere, not allowed within 500 feet of a school zone. But just some of the jokes they make in that movie, they would not do it again in today's like climate. And I find that so intriguing. So anyway, those are my thoughts of 13 Going on 30. Michael Joy says, I love Freaky Friday. It's fine. It's fine. But the new one looks terrible. It looks like a made-for-DVD movie. But then again, don't most streaming movies look that way? Even though it's going to theaters, it looks like it should have went straight to Disney+. Okay, the next one comes from DJ Run, who says, can you do a Morgan Freeman impression wishing your wife a happy birthday? I do that every night before we go to bed. My name's Morgan Freeman. Happy birthday to you, Nikki. That's terrible. You either get busy living. I can't even do it. I'm done. I'm done with Morgan Freeman impressions. I'm fucking done with it. All right, let's go to the next one. 1901 says, I wonder how the original 4-hour cut of Revenge of the Sith is, because it actually had more scenes of Palpatine manipulating Anakin in the movie. He says, from my point of view, the Jedi are evil. It works if you have some context of those deleted scenes. Yeah, I guess, man. Yeah. I haven't seen the 4-hour cut. Was there... I don't remember what... Did they have any deleted scenes of that movie on, like, the Blu-ray? I'm trying to think of, like, deleted scenes from that, and I can't. Is this all hypothetical? Is this somebody saying this, or is this factual? I definitely think more context would be nice, or just better dialogue throughout. Okay. The next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, which character in a film had the most bleak final scene? Ben Affleck from Gone Girl is a top pick for me. I mean, I guess that was bleak, but hey, he was still alive and fine. He just has to live in a life of misery with his crazy fucking wife. Which, by the way, her entire plot would be so easy to disprove. It really would. Anyway, and my biggest complaint with the movie Gone Girl, and hear me out for a second, and that's a great question for everybody watching. What is the most bleak final scene for a character in a movie? Let me know that down below. I mean, even at the end of American Beauty, when you have Chris, Chris Cooper, after he kills, what's his face? It's like, what happens after that? I don't know. Pretty bleak. But no, my thing with the movie Gone Girl, right? When she's trying to do this like really complex way of framing him, and then the cops, there's that shed of all his like goodies that she bought on a credit card, like a big screen TV and a surfboard and like golf clubs. And it's all in this shed behind a house, but it all looks like someone set it up like it was a display of The Price is Right. Excuse me, The Price is Right, where it's like the big screen TV sitting here and the golf clubs are sitting there. It's like on a display. And it's like, I get that you're trying to frame him, but like if cops saw that, who the fuck would ever set this up like that? Like who would ever, let me put all my goodies in the shed so they're on display like this. Like to me, that was so forced. And I'm like, that right there is a smoking gun that you could disprove that you're guilty of anything. Clearly, I would never do this, nor would any other human being. But some crazy woman, that's something that they would do. The No Country for Old Men final scene? Ooh, that's a good one. Final scene in the mist. You know what? I don't think you can top that. I don't think you can top that scene. But then again, whenever I watch the movie The Mist, I just think to myself, yeah, but you guys couldn't just wait 10 more minutes. Like you're going to do this crazy shit. You're not just going to wait 10 more minutes. I don't know. I don't think the ending of American Psycho is bleak. I really don't. I see that as a guy who like had no consequences to his actions. I think it's inspiring. I'll tell you, I don't know if I wouldn't say it's bleak. I don't know if I'd say it's bleak. But you know what? I think of the scene at the end of Forrest Gump when he's sitting on that log and little Forrest goes to school and he opens up the book and the feather flies out and he's just sitting there on the log like this, all Forrest Gumpy like. To me, that's kind of bleak. I think that's kind of bleak. I'm like, man, where do you go from this? Where do you go from, like, what do you do now? You know? It's like, yeah, you're a billionaire. You own a fruit company, also known as Apple. But now what, you know? The Wrestler, maybe kind of bleak. Yeah, you don't know exactly what happens. Maybe the end of Requiem for a Dream, a little bleak. All right, let's go to the next one here. Upshot Music TV says Chris Stuckman has morphed into Adam Scott. I've heard that comparison. I've never seen the similarities though. I don't see it ever. I never have. I don't know. He's morphed. He's morphed. We'll just, it's morphin' time. I don't know. The movie guy says opening scene in Full Metal Jacket is excellent. Oh, the first act of Full Metal Jacket is excellent. That movie's a phenomenal movie. And then they go to Vietnam. And then you sort of just go, yeah, okay. It was good. But like when they're in boot camp, oh, that is what Full Metal Jacket is to me. I wish the entire movie took place there. And maybe like the last 10 minutes took place in Vietnam. Maybe that's an unpopular opinion, but I've always stood by it. The next one comes from Sal, who says, what is an alternate cut or director's cut that you want to see released? Give me the director's cut of Over the Top. I don't know. I'm really trying to think of a director's cut I want to see. Let me think of a movie that I liked that I would like more if there was a director's cut. That's the question. I'm trying to think. I don't know what that movie would be. That's a great question for you guys. Off the top of my head, I don't have one. I can think of director's cuts that are available that you could watch right now that I like. But as far as like one that hasn't been released, I don't know. That's a great question for you guys. Let me know down below. What is a director's cut of a movie that you want to see released that exists somewhere? The next the next one comes from Zach Keel once again, who says Weapons couldn't come soon enough. Great trailer. Oh, dude, the new trailer for Weapons. So first of all, let's get dark and morbid here, and let me just lose all monetization on this video. We've already talked about child predators. Let's continue on. I literally thought, and maybe it's still a possibility. There could still be a possibility, but I think it would be way too dark for a movie to do this. I think it would like taint it. I thought the movie Weapons, and maybe it's still going to go that way. Couldn't tell you how it gets there though. I thought this was going to be about a school shooting. Did anyone else get that same vibe? I was like, okay, you want to go dark? You want little kids to be involved in a school shooting? You can't get darker than that. Now, as far as like box office success, I don't know if that would be the best route to go. But does anyone else get that vibe? Like somehow that's going to be worked into the story. And maybe I'm just overthinking it. But that's the vibe I was getting from it. Maybe my brain just goes to dark places. I couldn't tell you. Right. Yeah, but I'm looking forward to Weapons. Probably like my most anticipated horror movie of the year. Robert G. Chanta says, one gorilla versus 100 Bonnie Blues, who wins? Probably chlamydia. Bonnie Blue has STDs that you can only find in mutated sharks somewhere in the Mariana Trench, okay? Looks more like the kids or the bullets. Ooh, that'd be interesting. Yeah, I'm telling you right now, it's going to have themes of a school shooting in it. I'm just putting it out there. Something's going on with that. The movie guy says, hey, John, have you seen Hansel and Gretel starring Jeremy Renner? If you haven't, watch the unrated version. You won't be disappointed. Do I have a movie review of that? Clearly, I've seen the movie at some point in life. Hansel and Gretel Flick Pick Review. I did see the movie. I don't... You know what? Did I? Okay, no, I'm thinking of something else. I have not seen it, nor do I want to see it. The trailers looked really bad. So, I have not seen it. If you haven't, watch the unrated version. You won't be disappointed. It's good? Oh, it looks so bad. I was actually listening to the Joe Rogan podcast today as I mowed my lawn, and Jeremy Renner was the episode I listened to where he talked about when he got ran over by his like a snow machine and broke every bone in his body. And he was going on and on about it. And it's like, I get that you were crushed almost to death, and that is interesting, and you are famous, and that's why we're hearing about it. But also when he was talking about like his recovery and all the shit he had to do and all the things and procedures he had to go through and like how hard it was, I'm just like, yeah, but like, you know, in the back of your mind, you had like $50 million. So doesn't it just make like this whole process so much easier when financially you don't have any concerns? That's what I was thinking about as I mowed my grass, you know, like, all right. All right, the next one comes from... Sorry, give me a second here. There we go, there we go. August Babington, who says, if you were Master Blaster, what shoulders would you sit on? Ooh, that is a good question. Now, if you guys have never seen Road Warrior Beyond Thunderdome, or Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, you should watch that movie immediately. But let me tell you this about the film. It is the third movie in the Mad Max franchise. And I think the first act of Beyond Thunderdome is perfection. I love everything about it. But the movie, as soon as they have the Thunderdome battle sequence, it's like the movie blows its load. And when he goes off into the desert, like you can't even watch the movie anymore. It's unwatchable. But the first 45 minutes of that movie are gold. It's one of those movies where I watch the first act and then I turn it off. Anyway, to answer your question, who run Baratown? Master Blaster run Baratown. I would probably sit on the shoulders of The Rock. I probably would, yeah. We'll go with that. The next one. Bruce Cook says, I mowed my lawn today. The mower kept clogging and the engine kept vapor locking. Sucked. Oh man, you're waiting too long to mow your grass, or maybe it was too moist and it was getting clogged up. Either way, man, you got to cut your grass more often if it's getting clogged up, or you got to buy a better mower. One or two options, or maybe raise the deck on the mower a little bit, cut your grass a little bit higher. That's the best advice I can give you. Confetti says GTA got pushed back a year. Laugh out loud. Well, did you expect it not to? Of course it did. Did you really think that game was coming out this year? No, come on, no. It's never coming out. It's never coming out. And the week that the game is set to be released and is actually going to happen, a giant asteroid is going to impact Earth and we're all going to die. So just plan on never playing GTA 6. But I am looking forward to it. I do want to check it out. The movie guy says, most bleak final scene, The Road 2009. I thought that ended on like a good note. Like the little kid keeps going and like, yeah, I know Viggo Mortensen dies, but I thought the little kid goes with the family and everything's okay. I wish that family turned out to be cannibals, though. But I know they have a dog, so they're probably not. Bruce Cook says it rained today, but it had to get mowed. Well, I understand, man. That's when you just wait, though. You got to wait. The next one comes from Robert Giachanta, who says, did you watch Powder grown up disturbing kids movie? Powder from like 1992 or 3 or whatever that is? Yeah, it's a fucked up movie. His mom is struck by lightning and she craps at that little albino kid who has magical powers to like move spoons and gets bullied at school. I've seen the movie once, maybe twice. I remember that was like a popular movie back in like the early 90s. A lot of people talked about it for like a couple months. What else do I remember about that movie? There's some... Oh, yes! Do you know who directed the movie Powder? The same guy who directed Jeepers Creepers. Now look up what he's guilty of and went to prison for. Yeah. All right. The next one comes from Clark Ingleton, who says, underrated actors and directors who haven't had their due. For me, it's Ethan Hawke and Andrew Dominic as a director. Ethan Hawke, I think, had his fair share of stardom, hasn't he? He's been in a lot of great movies, and he's gotten the credit I feel like he's deserved overall. Trying to think of like underrated directors. That's a tough question off the top of my head. Like after Nightcrawler came out, I wanted Dan Gilroy to like be the next big thing, but then like every movie he made since, and I'm like, it's not that great. Let's see. I'm trying to, I can think of good movies, but I'm trying to like think of the name of the director who directed it, like underrated movies. Okay, this is too much. These kinds of questions you can't ask me off the top of my head. So I will ask you guys in the chat. I will talk about it. Who is an underrated actor right now, and who is an underrated director? Let me know that down below. I'm trying to think of like even an actor. But it feels like everyone who's like good in something eventually gets like a role that they deserve, and they get their fame and fortune from it. Gareth Edwards, yeah, but he's kind of directing what he wants. The Angry Gamer says the kids ruin it. They ruin everything. Zach Kill says, do you want a Nintendo Switch 2? Kind of pricey. To be honest, no. I just play my Xbox. I sit back, play my Xbox for like an hour every once in a while. I don't want a Nintendo Switch. Not to say, like, maybe there's some good games for it, but I can tell you this about a Nintendo Switch. I would probably never use it as a handheld device just because I'm at a point in my life where, like, I don't want to hold something. That makes no sense. I'd rather just hold the controller and look at a bigger screen. I'll put it that way. But will I go on my way to get a Nintendo Switch? Probably not. Bruce Cook says Sam Rockwell is kind of underrated. Yeah, but the thing is, Sam Rockwell, like, I feel like people respect the name Sam Rockwell. He was in the movie Moon. He had a 5-second cameo in the first Ninja Turtles movie. You want menthols or whatever the fuck else he says? Wing says Paul Giamatti was underrated for the longest time, but he's finally getting recognized. For me, Paul Giamatti's been like a household name since like the early 2000s, so I don't know, man. Also, did you guys watch the new season of Black Mirror? I think the best episode thus far is the Paul Giamatti episode, where he's looking at photos and reminiscing. I thought that was like the best episode. Guy Pearce has always been underrated. You know the thing about Guy Pearce? I'm sorry. I'm not saying Guy Pearce is a bad actor. I just never seen him in a role where I'm like, oh, that was the greatest performance I've ever seen. Something about Guy Pearce, I've just never latched on to it. Call me crazy. Yeah, Patrick Wilson's a good actor, yeah. Yes, Jeepers Creepers has that bleak ending. Yeah, you're right, it does. Jeepers Creepers, where'd you get them eyes? Okay, let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from Claudio Rogajon once again. Here we go. What did you think of Grievous as a character from Revenge of the Sith? I wish he was in it more. The fight is also way too short. A guy with 4 lightsabers fighting a dude with 1. At least there was more of him in the Clone Wars show. Yeah, Grievous to me, and I watched like some behind the scenes footage on how they came to the design of Grievous. And I feel like when I was looking at the concept drawings before George Lucas put his bulbousy finger on the one that he went with, I thought there were way other, like, more mysterious, evil, villainous designs that looked just much more intriguing than watching this big robot that looks like Goro. And the fact that he has 4 lightsabers, to me, is just like, that is something that's something that you would read on like a Reddit forum, like a fan forum for Star Wars. That's what it felt like to me. I was like, this is just too much. 4 lightsabers. Okay, maybe 2. Is 2 not enough? But 4? I don't know. I guess I didn't like the character General Grievous. I just couldn't get into him being like a robot. To me, that just took me out of it. Like, he looked too robotic. So, I don't know. Always took me out of it. But then again, the last time I watched Revenge of the Sith was like 9 years ago. Okay, we got a question here from Squinty Dumplings. How's it going, Squinty Dumplings? And because it's a glorious super chat question, I'm going to give you a party popper. You ready? 3, 2, 1. Yeah, baby. How'd you guys like that, huh? Smells like gunpowder in here. I love it. I love the smell of gunpowder and death in the morning. All right, Squinty Dumplings. Here it goes, man. John, I am a longtime viewer and always do my best to catch the live streams. This is my first time commenting on one. Thank you for all that you do and all the entertainment that you brought through the years. Well, thank you for that. That is a nice, heartfelt compliment, and I do appreciate that more than you will ever know. I'm telling you guys, recently I've questioned a lot of things in life. I really have. And, sometimes you read comments, and sometimes you're just like, oh, God, social media, what am I doing? I can't keep up with the youth of today. But I do appreciate it. I do. So thank you for that. That was a very nice comment, and just know I tuck it away right here. And I'm going to save that for a rainy, cold, bleak day. Let me rub my nipples just a little bit longer in front of all of you. Just let me do it. Okay, I feel good now. All right. Now let me take another sip of my alcoholic beverage. This is to you, Squinty Dumplings, and to all of you watching. Thank you for that. Okay, the next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, being that you're a fan of Jacob Fatu, at the moment, what are your thoughts of his uncle Umaga when he was alive? Jacob Fatu kind of feels like the reincarnation of Umaga, but almost more athletic. Kind of the same powerhouse vibe, but I think they're giving Jacob Fatu in WWE. If you don't watch it, he is a wrestler. I think they're sort of giving him the run that maybe Umaga should have had. And I think eventually one day they'll really propel him in WWE. But man, I love it. I love watching Jacob Fatu. The thing is, when it comes to wrestlers, whenever I see one that makes me forget, this is all kind of fictional and, predetermined. But when I watch dudes like Jacob Fatu, I'm like, this dude seems unhinged. I like that. There's a little bit of reality to what he's selling me. And it's like watching a great performance in a movie, right? It's like you sort of forget you're looking at Ryan Gosling at times, and you just see the character, and you're buying what he's doing on the screen. That's sort of what Jacob Fatu does for me. He feels authentic. And that's because he kind of slightly is, So I think he'll move up, but I'm glad that he's the United States champion right now. So, yeah. All right, the next one comes from Upshot Music TV, who says, most anticipated release, Shelby Oaks, or GTA 6. I think I'm going to get more use out of GTA 6. And they both feel like they're never coming out. But I am genuinely curious to see Stuckman's film, man. I am. How could I not? I am so curious to see it. I really am. So whenever it comes out, I'll talk about it, at some point. Or if we ever get a trailer for it, we'll talk about it. All right. The next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, what is your favorite Holy Smokes, I did not see that coming movie ending of all time? You guys ask some really good questions. You do. And you have to understand, it's almost 12 o'clock. I've been up since 8 o'clock this morning. And for me to sometimes give you the greatest answer off the top of my head, it's very hard to do. So, most what the fuck movie... okay, I'll give you two cliche answers, but the thing is, both of these movies existed before the internet could spoil everything, and legitimately did not see either of these endings coming, right? But very cliche answers. I'm very aware, but I want you guys to chime in. What are the biggest what the fuck didn't see that twist coming in a movie? One of them is going to be The Sixth Sense. You got to put it in there. I had no idea Bruce Willis was dead. Spoilers. Another one is I quite enjoyed the ending to Seven. What's in the box? Like the bad guy kind of won. I like that. Whenever that happens. Those are a few. I want you guys to chime in. I'm sure there's like 10 I'm not thinking of that are obvious. But somebody help me out. Those are the kinds of questions I would like to think about before I answer. But chime in. We'll keep talking about it. It's a good question, man. It's a great question. Bruce Cook says, Shelby Oaks is the story of a modified Mustang in a group of trees. I thought it was about a retirement home. Steve Goldie says Sixth Sense and The Usual Suspects spring to mind. Yeah, the thing with The Unusual Suspects, I kind of just assumed who it was going to be. Something about that character, I was like, he seems unsavory. I don't trust him. I'll tell you, this isn't necessarily like a big twist. It's just something a little bit different than what I expected that I really enjoyed. I thought the ending to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was a great way to take history and sort of turn it upside down and put a twist on it when it comes to the the murders of the Sharon Tate murders, the Manson murders, right? I thought that was like an interesting way to twist things around that I was not expecting. I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, please chime in, guys. What do you guys think? What is a crazy twist ending you didn't see coming? Steve Goldie says, okay, that was some good detective work, John. Thank you. The movie guy says, bro, watch Hansel and Gretel. It's a fun time. And yes, I agree with what you're saying. Renner had it easy with his traumatic experiences. Yeah, your trauma wasn't real when you have money. Come on, man. It is the truth, though. I mean, financially, like, I feel like 99.99% of my problems are, if you just gave me like $2 million, I probably wouldn't have a lot of problems tomorrow. You know what I mean? But yeah, if my face was crushed, that would suck. But knowing I have a whole bunch of money in the bank would make the transition and the recovery so much easier. I'm just putting it out there. Bro, you've never seen Scary Movie? Yeah, I've seen Scary Movie. What are you talking about? The dude ejaculates and blows her to the ceiling? I've seen Scary Movie. Deputy Doofus. Old Boy. Yes, that's a good one. And speaking of South Korean movies, Old Boy's a great pick. Good one. Very good. Did not see that twist coming. No. But Parasite. Did you guys expect that shit to happen at the end of Parasite? I did not think that was what was going to go down. It just keeps going deeper and deeper off the rails. Yes, I think Parasite's like one of the most fucked up, twisted endings of a movie I've seen in the last 6 years. All right, let's go to the next one here. The next one comes from... Oh, we already answered this. Okay. Oh, we got more questions. I got to keep scrolling up. Okay. The movie guy... the movie guy says, Emil Hirsch is an underrated actor. Watch Into the Wild if you've never seen it. It's a great movie. Oh, I have seen Into the Wild, and I know a lot about the true story. Or at least at one point I researched it and looked it up. I think it's a great movie. Emil Hirsch, I always liked him as an actor. I did. He had this I'll tell you one of my favorite roles that he's in is Alpha Dog, where he plays a character named Jesse James, or he doesn't play Jesse James Hollywood. He plays Johnny Truelove. But the real life person that he's portraying, their name is Jesse James Hollywood. But that sounded too made up, and they didn't think anyone would believe it in the movie, even though it's the truth. So they switched his name to Johnny Truelove. Anyway, Alpha Dog, great movie. Another underrated actor is Ben Foster, who always plays like a crazy, coked out, unhinged type of character. You gotta love you some Ben Foster. Oh, somebody mentioned The Last of Us Season 2. I'll just say this. I'm on episode 3, and the more I watch of it, the less I care. It's not to say it's not like entertaining. There's some questionable casting choices, and some of the things sort of take me out of it. And keep in mind, I'm not like a hardcore fan of the game or anything. I just think, man, was this the best choice you could have made for this show when you could have cast anyone you wanted to? And you have to ask yourself that. And it's like, no, it's not. That's how I feel about it. Anyway, let's go to the next one here. The movie guy says, Stuckman's movie better be good. Otherwise, I hope you do a flashback hilariosity video, even though he's your friend. Listen, I'll watch the movie and I'll give it an honest critique and I'll give it some, criticism. But at the end of the day, the dude made a movie. He got $1 million to make a movie, and that's cool. I mean, that's awesome. But I do want to see it, and I do want to talk about it at some point. The next one comes from Claudia Rogajan, who says, but the flashback of a hilariosity would be funny. That'd be funny. Claudia Rogajan says, what's the best well shit I guess I'm dead moment in a movie? That one, the one that comes to mind is Jeff Daniels in Speed. That's usually everyone's go-to. I'm going to go home. I'm going to have some sex. And then he gets into Dennis Hopper's house and the bomb explodes. Yeah, good scene. I'm trying to think of one. I always go to this. What about the scene of John Travolta in Broken Arrow? Right before he dies, let me find it. Let me fucking find this scene. We gotta look at this. I don't care if we get copyright strikes. Oh, okay, here it is. We have to watch this shit together, guys. Don't you go anywhere. Okay, my favorite, I'm dead and I know it scene, but we have to accept it, is this right here. God. Oh gosh, I wish the software actually worked. I wish it worked. I do. Hang on. Give me a second. Why doesn't this play? Anyway. Yeah, here. Okay, here's the scene. He's looking at the camera. And it turns into a dummy and he shoots out of the back of the fucking train. It's pretty cool. I like it. Anyway. All right, let's go to the next one here. The next one comes from Jason, who says... Jason says, on the set of Blended, in the background footage, Drew Barrymore saw really big multiple elephants coming at her fastly. She said, where are the elephant keepers? The crew said, there are none. They are wild elephants. She responded, I'm out of here, and ran. Well, that's a good fact. I didn't know that fact. Very interesting. I did not know that factoid. Jason says, John, is anyone but you, Sydney Sweeney, eating some guy's cookie on an airplane and ends up in his lap? Man, I wish I was that guy. What is that question that I just read? I thought I just had a stroke. Sydney Sweeney, cookies on a plane. Okay, where do we go? I don't get it. I don't get it, man. But it sounds like a good time. I'll eat Sydney Sweeney's cookie crumbs, I guess. The movie guy says, Parasite is now on my list. Oh, you've never seen Parasite? What are you doing, man? What are you doing? Shut this shit off right now and go watch it. That was my favorite movie of 2019. InHomes25 says... Sorry, John, just joined, but have you heard of the upcoming horror movie called Weapons? Looks pretty good and directed by Zach Krager, who made Barbarian. The poster reminds me of a good Goosebumps cover, and the trailer is good. Oh, it's a great trailer. It's terrifying. You don't know what the hell's going on, and it looks phenomenal. And yes, we did talk about it a little more in depth earlier on in the live stream. But I said it looks like maybe there's like a school shooting vibe in the trailer. And maybe I'm completely wrong, but damn it feels that way. But it looks dark, it looks sinister, and I cannot wait to see it. But I have a very strong feeling, since it's also from the director of Barbarian, the way that the third act of Barbarian, like the tonal shift happens, where it just goes into a completely like different feeling movie. I feel like something very similar like that's going to happen in the movie Weapons. Just putting it out there. Zach Kill says there's some perverts in the chat. Well, I mean, you got to have at least a few. Come on. It's the internet. They're everywhere. I'm not a pervert. I just wanted to ask a question. Skylar Wheelock says, John, can you message me what seat you're going to be in for the Raw in Columbus next month? I'll be in Club 10, Row F. I will be, if you're looking at the TV side of the arena, not the hard cam side, but the side that you see that's on TV, I will be on the lower bowl, very back row, almost like in the center section. That's where I'll be. So, yeah. Did that make sense? I'll be in the lower bowl, very back row, almost like center of the ring. That's where I'll be. So if you see me, man, say hi. I'll be there. I'll probably be wearing my John Cena hoodie. It's red. Jason says, what's your birth name, John? Tell the truth. I know it can't be John. There's no way that's your real name. Also, have you ever lied on your show before? I mean, I probably have fibbed about a few things or changed the names or locations for things to save some people's identities. But no, the thing is, some of the crazy things you've heard me say are very truthful things. They really are. And sometimes I'll laugh and joke, but at the core of what I'm saying, it's the deep, dark truth. I assure you of that. But lie. What would I lie about? When have I ever pulled a punch? I don't pull punches. I tell you like it is. I know it comes at a cost of viewership, but you know what? If I'm not honest with you and I'm not honest with myself, I can't do this shit every day like I do. I just can't. I don't want to live in a reality of lies. There's too much of that going on. This is a place of cold, hard truths. Nothing more, nothing less. What was the question again? Oh, yes. Yeah, my real name is John. It is. You know, for a long time, and people still think I'm lying, my last name really is Flickinger. It really is. Every time I went to LA or did something for like YouTube related in Los Angeles, everyone thought my last name was fake, like it was a stage name. I'm like, no, I'm not like you phony sons of bitches, okay? I didn't choose some screen name. No. My last name is Flickinger, okay? I didn't just change it. But no, it really is that, so. The next one comes from the movie guy who says, Alpha Dog is great and a very sad movie. No spoilers, but damn. I mean, it's a true story. So, I mean, you know, it came out 20 years ago at this point. But yeah, it is definitely a dark, seedy movie. But I love crime dramas like that, where like there is no real happy ending and it's all for nothing. But isn't that really what most violence is in life? It's like the innocent die and there's no real resolution. There's nothing to gain from this. We can't learn anything from it. That's what I like about Alpha Dog. Plus, the movie Alpha Dog legitimately made me hate, and I still do. I still hate Justin Timberlake because of that movie Alpha Dog. He still comes across like a piece of shit to me. And he kind of does seem like a piece of shit, doesn't he? I don't know. Bruce Cook says, how about Stanley Tucci in the core? What's that relate to? How about Stanley Tucci and Lovely Bones? All right. The movie guy says, oh my God, Broken Arrow is a guilty pleasure awesomeness. Hey, Broken Arrow is a great action movie that just so happened to come out in the mid-90s, directed by John Woo. And the funny thing is, I think if they, okay, here's how I look at movies that are like so much better than anything that we get today. If they remade something that we would consider like kind of a guilty pleasure action movie from the 90s, if that was a Netflix movie right now and it was remade exactly beat for beat, line for line, it would, like, people would praise it as like the best action movie ever. You know, like that's how I feel. Like when people say Extraction 2 is like a great action movie, I'm like, do you know what a real action movie is? Like a good one? I sound like such a boomer, I know. 25 years ago is when they used to make good movies. But isn't it the truth? All right, let's go to the next one here. The movie guy also says, by the end of the weekend, I'll watch Parasite. Okay, man. Please watch it. And on the next live show, let me know how you liked it. If it doesn't blow your hair back, nothing will. But I think you'll enjoy it. Really just sit down and enjoy it. What do you think of The Killer on Netflix? Not one of my favorite Fincher films. I wanted more from it. I thought they could have made it a little like, I wanted more of like a sociopathic vibe from it. I wanted, oh my God, my brain is melting right now. Magneto's name. What is his name? Michael Fassbender. Am I talking about the right movie? The Killer, right? We're talking about The Killer. Yes, okay. Actually, I lied to you. I didn't finish The Killer. I lied to you. I watched the first act, and it was not what I thought it was going to be, and I didn't like the vibe of it. Maybe I should finish it, and I'll punish myself later for my sins. But I could not get into it when I watched it. I was like, this doesn't feel like as good as a Fincher movie. And the vibe was not right. I thought it was going to be a little more meticulous and like I wanted him to be like a sociopath. And I don't know. Maybe it gets there. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. The next one comes from Claudia Rogajan, who says, a question for an earlier subject, but have you ever listened to Chris Cornell's other music like the Time with Soundgarden or Audioslave? If anything, listen to their first album. It's amazing. Sad what happened to him. Rest in peace. Probably, I'm sure I've come across some of his music and listened to it on the radio. The thing with music, there's like a lot of, I like music. I do. There's a lot of it I like, but I can be autistic-y when it comes to movies and remembering minute, insignificant details and factoids. But when it comes to music, whenever it's on the radio, I like it. Don't get me wrong. I've downloaded millions of songs. There's all kinds of music I like. I like classic music. I like new music. I like orchestra music. I like all kinds of stuff. I do. But I just have never dedicated the time to like memorizing certain bands or music or artists or the names of songs. Like there's a million songs I like. I could not tell you the actual name of the song. That's the thing about me. Like I like music, and when I come across it, I'll stop and listen to it. But I've never like went out of my way to research it like I do movies. Weird thing about me, maybe. I don't know. But my wife, she knows so much more about music than I ever will. And I like that. I like that there's a little, shift in the dichotomy of what we know and what we don't, Alex says it wasn't the best Fincher movie, but still worth watching. Yeah, maybe one day I'll check it out. The movie guy says, authenticity is all that matters in 2025, John. Well, tell that to my subscribers on YouTube. Let's get those numbers back up, baby. Those are rookie numbers. I try my best, though. Edward Nito says, "Sup, John. Glad to be able to join the live stream." Well, I'm glad to have you here. Anyway, it's been a while. Have you seen the ad for the 3rd season of the Netflix series Monster? Charlie Hunnam is playing Ed Gein. I have not seen the ad, but I knew that was happening, and I'm a huge fan of that series. And I know a lot about Ed Gein. Maybe a little too much. Did you know I'm utterly insane? You know what Ed Gein used to do? He would chop their head off and put it on a stick. Who's Ed Gein? Never mind. Yeah, I like me some Ed Gein. I do. But the thing about him as a dude, he was just sort of this like recluse weirdo that lived alone and did some unspeakable crazy shit. But I don't know how they're going to turn that into like an 8-part episodic series. It just doesn't, I don't know. It doesn't feel like there's enough of the character Ed Gein and what he does. Maybe there's more to the story, but whatever happened to them doing the John Wayne Gacy thing? I thought that was going to be the next thing, but Ed Gein's definitely an interesting serial killer. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The next one, you know what? I want to see the BTK killer. Make that the next one. That is the most sinister serial killer that we've had. One of the most prolific, creepy serial killers in the last 50 years. And I'll get to the question real quick, but the biggest detriment to TV series, and I'm talking to you, Netflix, because I know Netflix watches all my live streams. But the fact that the series Mindhunter, which concluded after 2 seasons, also produced by David Fincher, the fact that they were going into the BTK killer where it was going to get really interesting and fascinating, and that's something I wanted to see so bad. And then it's just like, no, you guys don't get that. Ugh, that pisses me off. So I'm hoping one day the Netflix series Monster does talk about the BTK killer, because if you don't know who that is, go read some of the information, some of the police reports on what this guy was doing to families. Just the darkest, most creepy, terrifying shit you could ever imagine. It's one of the reasons I need to buy a shotgun. I will not be a victim. I will not. All right, the next one comes from and by the way, Edward, thanks for the question earlier. And you know what, Edward? I owe you one of these, man. Anyone who does a super chat over $10 gets a popper. Here you go, buddy. 3, 2, 1. This goes to you, Edward. Yeah, baby. Ooh, I like the smell of the gunpowder that this gives off. Ooh, I feel like a man who just shot a rocket launcher. Okay. Let's go to the next one here. And the next one is from Robin J. Yang. How's it going? I'm from, I know it's called Belle Fountain, but I call it Bellefontaine, Ohio. Anyway, I'm going there for flight school. Are you familiar with the area? It seems like bumfuck nowhere with nothing to do. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I drive through that. I always remember seeing the sign because I live in Fort Wayne. So whenever I go to Columbus, Ohio, I have to drive through that town every time. Every time I drive through that town. And I go to Columbus probably at least once a month for a movie screening. That's typically where they are, even though it seems like they're sort of dwindling and most of the screenings are going to Chicago, which I hate driving to Chicago. It's too busy and I don't know. Anyway, I have been there. Many of times I drive through it. So good luck with flight school, though. But I drive through that town often. All right, let's go to the next one here. And the next one is from Claudio Rogajan again, who says, speaking of movies without happy endings, Bully is definitely one. The movie is just gross. Well, it's from the same guy who directed Kids. Clearly, the way that the director of the movie Bully and also the same director of Kids, some of the way he shoots younger girls, I think says a lot about him as an older individual. Just putting it out there. I've always noticed little things that he does. He has a seedy side to him, but I still like the movies. But But yeah, definitely a very bleak ending to the movie Bully. Definitely very bleak. You want a fucked up movie to watch? Watch the movie Bully tonight with the family. Jason back again says, Jason says, Dream John, best friend, buddy, oh pal, can we lend me some weekend cash? I'm looking to chill and hang out. Time to party, bro. Fragile rock style, not drugs, John, the cartoon. This is how I roll. Peace. Well, thank you for all those kind words. Cash? Yes, please. Jason also says, John, have you ever killed anyone? We won't tell. Just be honest. We are all friends. I don't know if they're dead. And I've told this story many times, but for legal reasons, I won't tell you where it happened or when it happened, even though I probably said this in a video multiple times. But what I will say is this. It was a rainy night, and I heard a loud noise, and I saw the whites of their eyes as they flew off into the darkness of the ditch, where they probably later died from internal bleeding. But I don't know that for a fact. So, have I killed anyone? Not that I know of, is the best answer I can give you. So, there's that. No, I don't know. No, I have not. But would I, if I had to? Maybe. I'm a survivor. I will tell you that. Let's go to the next one here. Johnny K. Baller says, speaking of Monsters Season 3, it was filmed in my hometown, and my lady friend and sister got to be extras in it, but filmed scenes that had Ted Bundy. Not sure if there's going to be a tease like him, but they did Gacy. They also shot some scenes in my friend's house. Okay, hang on. Maybe I read that. Okay, that's interesting. So maybe they allude to like a Ted Bundy scene or something. But I will say this. I think, didn't Ted Bundy, wasn't he like a fan of Ed Gein? Didn't he like read about him and know of him? Maybe they'll like tie those two things in together. I don't know. Or you know what they should do in Monster Season 3? They should almost have two parallel stories going on. Like one with Ted Bundy and one with Ed Gein that goes back and forth. You know, like you could like tell two stories in one season kind of thing. And they don't have to connect with each other. They could just, you know, different timeline, different place. Maybe that'd be interesting. But anyway, I think they probably will do a Ted Bundy one. He's just one of the most infamous serial killers of all time. And we're talking a lot about serial killers in this live stream, which I don't know what that says about me as a person. But anyway, I thank you guys for that. You guys see me for who I really am. And, but the thing is, we've been so inundated with Ted Bundy documentaries and Zac Efron movies that I feel like I don't need a series on Ted Bundy at this point. Maybe later, but anyway, he is a very prolific serial killer, so maybe that'll be the next one. But good info. Thank you for that. Jason says, John, I'm contacting aliens telepathically. Any message you want me to give them from humanity? I don't know. Just tell them Thunderbolts is the best MCU movie ever made and see what they say. I don't know, man. Avocado Balls Johnson says, if you think BTK was bad, you should look into The Beast of Jersey. There needs to be a movie or a series made about that bizarre case. I don't know about that case off the top of my head. Sounds cool. I'll look it up after the live show, but should we just start doing true crime live streams? I'll just talk about serial killers. It'd probably do better for views. Talking about movies is almost becoming very niche, isn't it? No, that sounds awesome, but the thing I liked about BTK was he was just a normal church-going guy who was secretly Satan behind closed doors. And I like that dynamic. I think that's so intriguing. It's like you don't really know who anyone really is. But the thing about the BTK killer that always intrigued me was when I look at that guy, Dennis Rader, that's his real name. When you look into his eyes, you can see something lurking in the shadows. There's not really any humanity in his eyes. But the reason I find that so fascinating is I like to think that I can read people very well. And there are some people I've met in life that remind me of that, where you look into their eyes and there's just something wrong. There's something off about them. And that story just like solidifies what I assume about people. Anyway, let's go to the next question. The movie guy says, I have a problem with subscribing to digital streaming, but it's unfortunately the way of the future. Subscriptions and updates are what they want. Well, the thing is, there's like 47 different apps. They all have different shows and series, and a lot of them share the exact same content. Some of them aren't even worth watching, except for there's like that one show that you watch that you pay $10 a month to keep watching it. And by the time you add up all this shit and you have to like go to one app, you have to exit out of it, go to the other app, it loads, you scroll through that for 20 minutes looking for what you're looking for because the search feature in all of these apps suck. And for some odd reason, they can never just put like what the new shit is on the front page. Like Netflix. It's like they have these new $100 million series coming out, but you still have to like scroll down 14 categories and over to the right 25 clicks to find it. It's a weird thing. I don't understand why they do what they do. But anyway, what do I know? I'm just some guy talking about movies in his underwear. But yeah, it's disgusting to me too. The movie guy says, you're awesome, John. Well, thank you for that. I do appreciate that so much. You know who's awesome? You guys are awesome. Bruce Cook says, Bell Fountain is a pleasant Midwestern small town. I mean, it's just a town I drive through in Ohio if we're talking about the same place. Isn't there like one little restaurant bar and then like this big concrete factory thing on the edge of the town, or is that another town? It's close. Bruce Cook says, yes, John, you can become the new John Walsh. I'll take it. I'll be the John Walsh of movie talk. Alex says something about the Crispin Wall murders are still one of the weirdest ones. I mean, the guy was all crazy and had dementia and his brain looked like the brain of an 80-year-old man, and then he murdered his family because of roid rage. But yeah, John, did you ever see Beavis and Butthead? Yeah, of course. Who didn't? Always, the thing when I watched Beavis and Butthead as a kid, I always thought there was too many music videos, and like it took years and years of watching it to realize, well, that's just because they didn't want to have to animate a 22-minute episode every week, so they filled up half the runtime with music videos. Brilliant move. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap up the live show right there, but I do want to say thank you guys all for hanging out, talking about movies this week, and hopefully we don't have to go 2 weeks again without another live show, so I'll try to do another one next week because I don't have any big life obligations coming up. Yeah, for some odd reason, the month of April was just hectic. Oh, and plus I had my birthday this month. I had a WrestleMania themed birthday party that just happened to be on the actual day of WrestleMania, night 1, which was, it was okay. Night 2 was way better. But yeah, I shared some pictures of that on Instagram. So if you haven't followed me on Instagram, it's at the Flick Pick. The links are down below. Check it out. I got some birthday pictures on there. Invited some friends over and had a wrestling themed birthday party. It was essentially like the birthday party every 9-year-old kid wants. My wife even made a wrestling ring. We put some cupcakes in it. We did some suplexes. I did a stunner. It was a good time. And then I blew up my birthday candles. And it was a magical and mystical night. So, yeah, follow me on Instagram if you want. Plus, I'm trying to make more short form content because that's what society wants now. Because, hey, if anything's over 60 seconds, how can you ever watch that? So, yeah, anyway, guys, I want to say thanks for hanging out with me for the last couple hours. Thanks for the questions. And have a good night, guys. Stay safe. And I'll see you guys next week with a brand new live show. And if you missed it, check out my Thunderbolts review right now on the Flickpick channel. So if you want to, go check that out. Give it a like. As always, take care. See you guys next time. Bye-bye. Here, one more party popper. 3, 2, 1. Take care. You know, I was going to go, but there was a question here I missed, and it's from the movie guy who says, that's what I enjoy. A guy in his underwear talking about movies. I couldn't leave you hanging, man. I couldn't leave you hanging. But thank you for that, man. And I think that's what most of you enjoy, or at least I hope you do, because that's all I have to give you. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.